Franklin Delano Roosevelt had 4 great terms as President of the United States. Joseph Sweeney in Journal of Maritime Law and Commerce as of October 2017 states, "Our only 4-term president guided the nation through its most serious financial collapse and the mightiest of world wars. It was his help defeating the Axis powers in World War II that drove him to be a great president, but his campaign in 1932 was what had led him to being one of the greatest presidents of all time. Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt defeated Republican President Herbert Hoover in the 1932 presidential election. According to the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica as of November 2020, Roosevelt received nearly 23 million popular votes to Hoover's nearly 16 million. The electoral vote was 472 to 59. The primary reason that Franklin won the election was because of his New Deal program and his confident attitude towards the citizens of the United States. Franklin Roosevelt's win over President Hoover in 1932 was and still is the largest presidential victory recorded in U.S. history. The main reason that Roosevelt won the election was because U.S. citizens wanted a change. White House Gov states, "Roosevelt helped the American people regain faith in themselves." During this time period, President Hoover was having a terrible term as president. The stock market had crashed in 1929, which caused massive violence throughout America. The American people wanted their money from the banks, but the banks had no money to give. 1/4 of Americans were unemployed and many had lost their homes. According to History.com, as of October 29, 2009, by 1933, nearly half of America's banks had failed, and unemployment was approaching 15 million people, which is 30% of the workforce. Farmers had no exception to being homeless. Without farmers having land to farm, the food market was crushed. All the blame was heavy on Hoover's shoulders. Then came along Roosevelt, and the people believed that he could get America out of this depression. According to OpenStax, as of December 30, 2014, FDR signaled both immediate relief for the American public as well as a permanent shift in the role of the federal government in guiding the economy and providing direct assistance to the people. Roosevelt had this idea of the New Deal, in which Americans would receive financial help from the government and provide more jobs for the working class. According to the book, The Coming of the New Deal, The Age of Roosevelt, as of 1956, a commentator proclaims, "This nation asks for action, and action now. We must act and act quickly." The great mass before the Capitol, huddling in the mist and wind under the sullen March sky, responded with a burst of applause. This was totally opposite of Hoover, who believed Americans should not expect any help from the government. Although most Americans were all in favor of Roosevelt's presidency, due to party bias, most of the black vote went to Hoover. History House Gov, as of 2008, states African Americans distrusted him due to his party affiliation, his evasiveness about race in the campaign, and his choice of running mate, House Speaker John Nance Garner of Texas. The New Deal gave economic relief to industries, water power, agriculture, and housing. Americans loved the idea of an economic recovery that could get them back on their feet. The New Deal program was a huge help for Roosevelt, especially during a time period when Americans were desperately seeking new hope. The most successful and enduring act FDR established in the New Deal was the Works Project Administration. According to Public Broadcasting Service, averaging at a salary of about $41 per month, Works Project Administration employees built infrastructures such as bridges, roads, public buildings, public parks, and airports. One of the powers and duties of WPA, as of May 6, 1935, is to establish and operate a division of progress investigation and to coordinate the pertinent work of existing investigative agencies of the government so as to ensure the honest execution of the work relief program. This basically means that the WPA was allowed to check up on the progression and coordination of the jobs the employees worked. According to PBS, Roosevelt's work relief program employed more than 8.5 million people. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was someone the people could talk to. Kenneth Walsh for U.S. News as of April 2015 states, FDR's most important attributes as a leader was his ability to empathize with his fellow citizens. He treated every American as a friend and loved to meet new people to listen to their stories about the Great Depression. Roosevelt always greeted people with a smile, which made him a very likable candidate. When standing in large crowds or speaking to a group, he always acknowledges certain hard-working, lower-level individuals. He would go on to tell others about an inspiring single mother or a hard-working man with a family of 6 children. People loved the way someone so high in politics remembered the little man, the working class, and the backbone of America. The image of someone who really cared about the American people helped him succeed in the election against Hoover in 1932. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was obviously the best candidate for the presidential election of 1932. Roosevelt's New Deal to relieve the debts of all Americans in economic recovery and his compassion and empathy towards all ordinary citizens led to a successful campaign victory. Roosevelt being elected shaped the future for the United States and led the U.S. out of the Depression. The election of 1932 led to Franklin Roosevelt becoming one of the greatest presidents in United States history.